Let's react to most awkward phases of life.
There are certain stages in life where you're just gonna be weird. Like, you don't even have a choice. It's built in.
What do you
look
mean?
weird, you act weird, and the worst part is, you think you're normal. So here's a list of the most awkward stages we all go through, but no one ever talks about it because we're all too busy pretending they never happened. Starting it off, we have the debate lord phase. This is the phase where you think arguing equals personality. You watched one Ben Shapiro clip, and now you're out here treating lunch like a presidential debate.
Okay, so let's say that a soup is defined as a liquid dish that contains pieces of solid food from which it extracts its flavor.
What?
You agree with me on that statement, right?
You start every sentence with the word technically. You call people out for logical fallacies or inconsistencies during gym
Technically.
class. You're hitting people with
I hate
words
those
like
people.
anecdotal and objectively false over fucking Snapchat drama. Someone says they enjoy pineapple on pizza and suddenly you're debating moral relativism like you're writing a college thesis. You say, let's unpack that. Unironically, you are the carry-on luggage. You're calling everything gaslighting but misusing the word every single time. You quote Jordan Peterson like he's your therapist, and you think playing devil's advocate makes you sound smart when you're just being insufferable. You think you're dominating conversations, but in reality, everyone's just waiting for you to shut up so they can finish their sandwich. And the thing is, this phase doesn't hit everybody at the same time. Some people get it in middle school, walking around
Or
with
you
a
just
copy
don't
of
get it at all.
1984 that they haven't read. Others don't get hit until college, where because they're taking a political science class, they want to ruin everybody's day. And for some, it shows up late, like post-breakup, watching Joe Rogan at 2 a.m. You grow a beard, you get a podcast mic, and suddenly you think you're leading a movement. This phase looks a lot different for different people. You could have the I watched one philosophy video and now I'm a nihilist guy, the kid who argues with the teachers just to hear himself talk, the guy who acts like he's red-pilled but he still gets his entire worldview from Reddit threads with 11 upvotes. But the one thing that all these people have in common is they don't want to admit that they went through it. Because you weren't just wrong, you were loud and wrong. And there were screenshots, old YouTube comments, Discord arguments, and maybe even a Twitter thread where you seriously typed, "Let me play devil's advocate." It was a phase
Nah, that's
very
insane.
deep, like
Nah,
6
those
feet
words
under,
should not
locked
be in
a
the same
vault,
sentence.
never to be spoken of again. Because the second someone brings it up, all the cringe floods back like a war flashback. The graphs, the lectures, the fake confidence, and the worst of all, the smug little smirk you did when you won an argument no one asked you to have. Alright, next up we got the cringe accessory phase. This is when you thought a hat, a necklace, or fingerless gloves were gonna change your whole life. You had one personality trait, and it was that you wore a beanie indoors. You thought that you were breaking the Matrix, but you looked like an NPC from a Disney Channel dance battle. You walk around like your accessory gives you lore, wearing a fedora to school, like you were the villain of an off-brand Sherlock Holmes fanfiction. Every day you looked like you were on your way to a Hot Topic photo shoot that didn't exist.
Because tonight will be the night that I will fall for you over again.
You weren't dressing for the weather, the vibe, or the occasion. You were dressing for a cringe identity. The worst part is you kept adjusting it, always messing with your bracelet or fixing your hat like you were getting mobbed by TMZ. You'd post mirror selfies with captions like, "Felt cute, might delete later, but you never did." Okay, next is the fake deep music taste phase. This is when you started pretending that your playlist was a spiritual experience. You'd say
Nah.
stuff like, "Yeah, I don't really listen to mainstream music," and then play Billie Eilish like it was underground. You judge people for liking Drake while your top artist was someone named Lil Cemetery who made music that sounded like a
But the people who went through these phases of life, like, I genuinely, like, I'm scared for you guys, bro, because I don't know what y'all were doing to yourselves or, like, what was up in y'all heads, but I was scared for y'all because y'all were low-key
car crash in a haunted
insane.
parking garage.
Get the off the cemetery alive with that fucking drain bullshit. Successful artist, independent artist, no one wants to fucking hear about it.
You'd post screenshots of your Spotify with no context, just a blurry picture of a sad song, and a black screen like you were going through something. You acted like your music taste made you better than people, like, "Oh, you don't know this song? It's okay, not everyone gets it." Bro, it's lo-fi beats and a girl whispering over vinyl crackle. You're not ascending. And if you've ever uttered the words, you probably wouldn't understand this artist. He's kind of niche. Yeah, this phase got you bad. Alright, next up we have the terminally online phase. This is when your whole
Terminally
personality
online.
gets absorbed by the internet. You stop speaking like a normal human being and start talking in memes. Someone would say, "I'm tired," and you'd
Skibbity.
respond with, "Same, lol, deadass, FR, and then a weird tenor gif. You weren't even texting anymore. You're just sending random reaction pics and gifs like you were running a Tumblr fan page. You called everything a core. Cottage core, down core, goblin core. Bro, you're just messy. Your sense of humor got so warped that you could only laugh at TikToks with 3 likes and distorted SpongeBob audio.
Question for you: when you have to run a marathon, but you're in the middle of an edging streak, do you edge while running, or do you splurge and then go for a run? Well, me personally,
Well, me
And
personally.
worst of all, you started diagnosing yourself with fake disorders from Twitter threads. Like, sorry, I can't hang out today. My Scorpio moon is flaring up and my main character syndrome is acting out. You weren't quirky, you were terminally online. Next up, we got the Gym Bro conversion phase. This one hits
Gym
fast.
Bro conversion.
One day you're eating hot Cheetos for breakfast, and the next day you're lecturing people about protein intake. You watched one video of
Yeah.
David Goggins yelling, and suddenly you thought,
Yep, I
pain
remember
was a
this phase. I
personality. You
remember
started
this
carrying
phase,
a
bro.
gallon of water everywhere, like you were preparing for a desert mission, and you wouldn't shut up about creatine. Your TikTok feed turned into nothing but pump up edits and dudes with neck veins telling
I was in this phase sophomore year. No. Wait, yeah. Late sophomore, early junior year. I was in this phase.
you to lock in, and you had the audacity to look down at people just because they didn't know what progressive overload was. You were not lifting for health, you were lifting for revenge on a girl who left you on red 2 years ago. You called it a grind set, but in reality you just needed a hug. Alright, next up we have the wannabe skater phase. This is when you bought a skateboard just to carry it around like it was an accessory, but you couldn't do anything. You couldn't ollie, you couldn't drop in, but you wore Vans and Thrasher.
Nah,
like
'cause
you were
what's the point?
sponsored. You'd sit at the skate park pretending
What's the
to
point of
stretch
having
while
a
waiting for
skateboard?
someone to notice your grip tape. You watched one skate montage on YouTube and decided that you were built different. You started saying shred and steezy in normal conversations, even though your board had more dust than scratches. And God forbid someone asked you to actually ride it, you'd say, "Oh, I'm resting my ankle," like you were recovering from the X Games. You were not a skater, you were just doing cosplay of someone who could have been cool. Next up, we got the vape god phase. This is when you
Vape
started
god.
hitting a vape like it was part of your respiratory system. You couldn't go 20 minutes without blowing a cloud the size of a mattress out of your mouth. You'd walk into math class smelling like watermelon battery acid, and you'd act like you were the chill one. You had
Yep, that was
one
also me
vape
in
with
high
a
school.
crack in the side that still somehow worked, like a loyal little toxic relationship. You made it your whole personality. You'd post snap stories like ripping the pod before school as if that was a flex. You always
Ripping
swore
the
that you would
pod
quit
before
whenever you
school.
wanted, but you panicked like a Victorian widow anytime you left it at home. You were not cool. You were just a nicotine-dependent 16-year-old with too much time. All right, next up we got the spiritual awakening phase. This is when
That's,
you watched one
like,
TikTok about
later in your
chakras
life.
and suddenly thought that you were the Dalai Lama. You started saying everything happens for a reason. When your DoorDash order got canceled, you bought crystals off Etsy, saged your room once, and acted like you healed generational trauma. You started calling every inconvenience a lesson from the universe. You wore baggy, earth tone outfits.
I'm not gonna lie, I kinda do that though. Like the lesson from the universe part. Like, nah, if something bad happens to me, I take it as a lesson. I mean, no, it's not like some spiritual shit. It's just like, it's like you should learn from your mistakes. That's how I think of it. Not not any spiritual shit. I feel like if you're thinking about it on some spiritual shit, it gets weird. Because unless you're talking to God about it. But if it's like any other spiritual with like stones and everything, that's weird.
And said stuff like, "I just don't vibe with bad energy anymore." Meanwhile, your life was in shambles and you hadn't done a single load of laundry in 2 weeks. You thought Mercury being in retrograde was why people don't like you, but it was not the stars, it was just you being annoying. Certainly a lot of weird phases that we've all been through, and if I missed any, please let me know down in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, please be sure to leave a like and subscribe if you're new. Follow my social medias, links are all down below, and I'll see you guys all in the next one. Peace.
That was a good video. That was very short though. Holy shit.